The Galactic Council had deliberated for precisely 3 standard cycles before reaching their decision. Humanity must be contained, not exterminated. They weren't monsters, but firmly restricted to their solar system. Humans were advancing too quickly, developing technologies that had taken other species millennia to perfect. It was dangerous, unpredictable. Dr. Maria Reed didn't know about any of this as she calibrated her quantum entanglement laser in the basement laboratory of the Arctic Research Station. She only knew that her funding had been cut, her research deemed too theoretical, and her warnings about anomalous energy signatures in the outer solar system dismissed as equipment malfunction. Bureaucrats, she muttered, adjusting the beam collimator. Her breath fogged in the chilly air of the lab. The heating system had been the first thing they'd shut down. Wouldn't recognize a first contact scenario if it landed on their desk with a nanotech. The council had dispatched their most elite team for the containment mission. The Stalkers, 6 beings from 6 different worlds, each selected for their unique abilities. Their commander, Krell, stood 7 feet tall, with iridescent scales and compound eyes that missed nothing. His lieutenant, Naxa, could manipulate electrical fields. The others, Vox, Elim, Droon, and Taz, were equally specialized: a telepath, a phase shifter, a toxin producer, and a master of camouflage. They had disabled Earth's satellite network with surgical precision. No one had noticed yet. Their ship hovered above the Arctic, cloaked and silent. "Something's wrong with the power grid," Maria said to nobody. The lights had flickered 3 times in the past hour. The station was supposed to have independent generators. She glanced at her workbench where her laser prototype sat, sleek, elegant, and potentially revolutionary. The quantum entanglement field it generated could, theoretically, freeze particles in a state of superposition across vast distances. She had designed it to facilitate instant communication across space. But there were other applications, military applications that she refused to develop. The lights went out completely. Emergency generators kicked in with a low hum. Maria's eyes narrowed. "That's not a malfunction," she whispered, reaching for the laser. The Stalkers moved through the station like ghosts. The few researchers still present after the funding cuts fell into unconsciousness as Droon released his specialized neurotoxins into the ventilation system. Mild, temporary, but effective. The energy signature, strongest below, Krell communicated silently to his team. "Something down there matches Council-prohibited technology pattern, Omega-7. Maria heard them before she saw them, a faint whisper of movement that didn't belong. She wasn't a soldier or a fighter. She was a physicist with a grudge against bureaucracy and a prototype that had never been field-tested. But she had also grown up with 3 older brothers in rural Montana and knew when she was being hunted. She disabled the emergency lights in her lab and waited in the darkness, laser cradled in her arms. "Human female," a voice hissed from the darkness. "Surrender the device and you will not be harmed." Maria's laugh was sharp and brief. "Bold of you to assume I'm the one in danger." She activated the laser. What the Council hadn't understood, what even Maria hadn't fully predicted, was how quantum entanglement would interact with alien biology. When the beam struck Krell, it didn't just freeze him in superposition, it synchronized him with his team through their neural communication implants. 6 elite assassins stood paralyzed, caught between states of being and non-being. Maria circled them slowly, adjusting the beam parameters with steady hands. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your nervous systems are linked. I'm guessing that's how you communicate so efficiently." Krell managed to move his eyes, tracking her. "This violation proves Council's assessment." "Oh, and what assessment is that?" Maria positioned herself behind her workbench, keeping the laser trained on them. "Humans. Dangerous. Unpredictable." Maria smiled thinly. "You haven't seen anything yet." She increased the laser's power, not to harm them but to expand the field. "Let me guess. You're here to stop us from becoming a spacefaring civilization, to keep us trapped in our little solar system." Krell's silence was confirmation enough. "Here's what's going to happen," Maria continued. "I'm going to adjust this field to create a stable communication channel. Then you're going to tell your council something important about humans." "What? Message?" that we don't respond well to threats, that we're stubborn and resourceful, and yes, sometimes unpredictable. But most importantly, Maria leaned forward, eyes flashing, that we're already out there among the stars. This little device, it's not a weapon, it's a communication tool. We've had colonies beyond Pluto for 15 years. This was a lie, but Krell couldn't know that. His compound eyes widened slightly. So your containment plan is about 3 decades too late, she continued. But I'm willing to negotiate a different arrangement, a formal introduction of Earth to your Galactic Council. 3 hours later, Maria stood beside the commander of an alien strike team, watching as his ship decloaked above the Arctic Research Station. The rest of the station's staff had begun to wake up, groggy and confused. The world was about to change forever. Your council underestimated us, Maria said quietly. They sent assassins. We sent a scientist with a laser and a lot of determination. Krell's scales shimmered in the northern lights. The council rarely miscalculates, but when they do, they adapt. Maria smiled. So do we. The quantum entanglement laser had just become humanity's first extraterrestrial treaty signing device. And Dr. Maria Reed, whose funding had been cut for pursuing theoretical nonsense, was about to become the most important human in galactic history. Sometimes all it took to change the fate of a species was one angry woman with a laser and something to prove.